So, you're thinking about adding a second battery to your vehicle. Awesome. But here's the thing. It's not just about adding more power storage. It's really about controlling how that power flows through your entire system. If you get it wrong, you could easily end up with a dead starter battery, or way worse, an electrical fire. Okay, so let's dive right into this. We're going to break down exactly how an isolator switch works, and more importantly, how you can use one to charge that second battery safely. All right, let's start with the core problem. Your starter battery? It has one job, one really important job. Start your engine. But if you just hook up a second house battery directly to it, well, they become one big dumb battery. They'll always try to stay at the same voltage, and that means your fancy new fridge or your lights or whatever you've got plugged in can just suck the life out of both batteries until they're completely flat. And that's exactly how a great weekend trip ends, with you on the phone begging for a jump start. And this visualizes it perfectly. Look at the left side, the direct connection. Every single thing you turn on is stealing power from your starter battery. But on the right, with the proper isolated system, your accessories only ever touch the house battery. Your starter battery is left alone, completely untouched, always ready to crank the engine. That separation, that's the whole game.
So, how do we actually create that separation? We use a clever little device called an isolator. Honestly, the easiest way to think about it is like a smart, automated gate that we install right between your two batteries.
So how does this gate know when it should be open and when it should be closed? Well, it's all thanks to something called a voltage-sensitive relay, or you'll hear it called a VSR. The really cool part is that it doesn't need any complicated wiring to your ignition or anything like that. Its only job is to watch the system's voltage, which, it turns out, is a perfect signal for whether your engine is running or not.
Let's just walk through it real quick. When your engine is off, a healthy battery will just sit there right around 12.6 volts. The isolator sees that low voltage and says nope, and it keeps the gate open. The batteries are totally disconnected. But the second you fire up that engine, the alternator kicks on and it boosts the system voltage up to about 14.4 volts. The isolator sees that jump and boom, it closes the gate, connecting the two batteries so they can both get a nice healthy charge. Simple, right?
And that seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it? Engine on, they connect. Engine off, they separate. Problem solved. But, and this is a big but, this is where most of the DIY tutorials out there just stop. And unfortunately, it's exactly where real-world systems start to fail. That simple connection is only about half the story.
See, it's not just about connecting the batteries. You have to understand the physics of the power that's actually flowing between them. The amount of electrical current zipping through those wires, well, it's dictated by resistance. And if you ignore that fundamental principle, you are just setting yourself up for a world of hurt.
These are the big ones. These are the critical safety gaps that get overlooked time and time again. Things like not having a strategy for where your fuses go, or just not using them at all. Using wires that are way too thin for the job. Not thinking about voltage drop. Using the totally wrong tech for modern lithium batteries. And, oh yeah, having a bad ground connection. Any one of these can lead to a system that, best case, doesn't work right, and worst case, is just plain dangerous. Now, the good news is, these aren't some random, unpredictable gremlins in your system. No, they are the direct result of a few basic electrical principles. Once you get these, you can design a system that avoids these failures from the get-go.
Okay, first up is something called resistive heating. Look, every wire, no matter how thick, has some tiny amount of electrical resistance, and as current flows through that resistance, it creates heat. It's exactly how your toaster makes your toast brown, and it's also exactly how a wire that's too small for the job can melt its insulation and start a fire under your hood.
And this is why it's so critical to understand. Heat isn't a simple one-to-one relationship with current. It's exponential. That's because heat is proportional to the current squared. Let me say that again because it's important. If you double the amount of current flowing through a wire, you don't just get double the heat. Nope, you get 4 times the heat. And that massive, unexpected jump is what catches people out and leads to really dangerous situations.
The next big concept is voltage drop. The best way to think about this is like water pressure in a really long hose. The further the water has to travel, the more pressure, or in our case voltage, it loses along the way. In your vehicle, this means that the beautiful 14.4 volts coming out of your alternator might only be 13.5 volts by the time it gets all the way to a house battery in the back. And what does that mean? It means your battery is going to charge super slowly and probably never even reach 100%.
Okay, so we've covered the why. We get the physics of what can go wrong. Now let's build this thing the right way. Let's walk through the safety-first blueprint.
Step 1, and this is completely non-negotiable.
Before you do anything else, install a correctly sized fuse as close as you can physically get it to the positive terminal of your starter battery. This is the single most important component in this whole system. It's what protects that main wire from a catastrophic short circuit.
All right, from that fuse, you're going to run your heavy gauge cable to the input terminal on your isolator. This is what connects your main power source to that smart gate we talked about.
Step 3 is just as important as Step 1. You're going to run another cable from the isolator's output over to your house battery's positive terminal. And just like before, you're going to put another fuse right near this battery. Now, why 2 fuses? Think about it. You have 2 power sources, right? A short circuit could happen anywhere along that wire, so this makes sure the whole system is protected no matter which direction the fault comes from.
And finally, Step 4, the ground return path. Electricity needs a complete circle to flow. You absolutely have to have a nice, thick ground cable connecting the negative terminals of both batteries. You can connect them directly to each other or to clean, solid, paint-free points on the vehicle's chassis. I'm telling you, a weak ground is just a recipe for weird problems, unstable voltage, and really unreliable charging. And please, remember this. You can buy the best, most expensive components in the world, but it's all for nothing if your connections aren't clean and tight. A loose connection creates a point of high resistance. And as we know now, resistance creates heat. And heat is where safe systems fail.
Now, there is one very, very big exception to this entire blueprint that we absolutely have to talk about. What happens if you're using modern lithium batteries, like lithium iron phosphate or LiFePO4?
The difference here is crystal clear, and it is so important. For lithium batteries, a simple isolator is the wrong tool for the job, period. Why? Well, lithium batteries have crazy low internal resistance. They can suck down a massive amount of current, so much, in fact, that they can force your vehicle's alternator to run at 100% capacity until it literally melts down and destroys itself. This is why you must use a DC to DC charger. It still isolates the batteries, but it also intelligently limits the charging current to a safe level, protecting your alternator, and it provides the specific voltage profile that your expensive lithium battery needs to live a long, happy life.
So let's wrap this all up with a final safety checklist. You can use this to audit your own system. 1. Are your fuses installed right next to both batteries? 2. Is your cable size correct for the amount of current you're pulling? 3. Are your ground connections clean, tight, and solid? And 4, maybe the most important, are you using the right technology for your battery type, an isolator for lead acid or a DC to DC charger for lithium? Because at the end of the day, that's the whole point, isn't it? This isn't just about getting power for your gadgets. It's about building a system that gives you that power reliably, day in and day out, without ever putting your vehicle or, more importantly, your safety at risk.
And that really brings us to the final crucial question I want you to ask yourself when you look at your own setup. Is your system just wired together so it works, or is it engineered and built to be truly protected?